Good morning, Your Excellency, and depending on where you are, good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome to our Thailand-Hungary Business Forum 2021, which unfortunately has to be held virtually. Honestly, I would have preferred to and enjoyed to come to Budapest and moderate the seminar live and in person. Unfortunately, COVID is still not making this happen, but I hope for that next year. Nevertheless, we hope that we can provide you with interesting and useful information on doing business in Thailand. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of the seminar, namely the Board of Investment of Thailand, the Royal Thai Embassy to Hungary in Budapest, and last but not least, the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. My name is Till Moorstadt, and I will be your moderator. A few words on myself. I'm managing partner of Lawrence & Partners, a legal tax and business advisory firm advising European companies investing in Thailand. I live in Thailand for around 20 years now, working with the BOI and other authorities in Thailand. And I'm still a big fan of the country and see lots of opportunities for European companies investing here. But you will hear much more about that after my introduction. The webinar will consist out of two parts. The first session will be on new policies and will be moderated by myself. After that follows the second part, which is focusing on business practices in Thailand and will be moderated by Christoph Wegvary from the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce. In order to stay in timelines, in order to stay with the timeline, all attendants have their microphones and cameras disabled during the full length of the seminar. Unfortunately, that's not possible with so many participants to do it in a different way. However, should you have questions, Zoom provides a question and answer tool on the bottom of the page where you can key in your answers. At the end of each module, we have planned a Q&A session. We have to a little bit see how we get along with the time, and we'll try to answer as many as possible questions live. The ones we don't answer will be answered in writing by email later. We will take care that everybody gets responses to their respective answers. But now enough on the technicalities. Let's dive into the seminar itself, and let's start with our first speaker, His Excellency Mr. Bakarat Tanskun, Ambassador of Thailand to Hungary. Mr. Ambassador, we are looking forward to your welcome remarks.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. And Kun Tim, thank you very much for your introduction. I would like to begin the remark by saying that good morning, Kun Chanin Kaochan, Deputy Secretary General of Thailand Board of Investment, Mr. Laszlo Bodi, Vice Chairman of the Committee for International Affairs of Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Laksamon Attapich, Deputy Secretary General of Thailand Eastern Economic Corridor Office, Kun Kriengkrai Thiennugun, Vice Chairman of the Thai-Europe Business Council, distinguished panelists and participants. Good morning from Budapest. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome you to the virtual Thailand Business Forum 2021. I am particularly grateful to the Board of Investment of Thailand and the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry for helping the embassy making this event a success. I am pleased to have members of various public and private sector from Thailand, Hungary, and many other countries, including the UK, Australia, India, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Slovakia with us today to shape the future of our business cooperation. We have faced the worst crisis in history. The COVID-19 pandemic makes every country a patient. It has disrupted and decimated not only the economy, but people's life in many different ways. But at the same time, it is bringing us a brave new world driven by leaping technology that helps us to focus on how best to move forward all the works and activities. This virtual business forum happened at an opportune time and will help to enhance business cooperation and encourage trade and investment among business sectors with potentials in the post-pandemic era. Amidst the current pandemic, Thailand economic fundamentals remain strong. We have made progress of our vaccination program and redouble efforts to accelerate recovery. So far, the Thai economy grew by 2% in the first half of 2021, and is expected to expand between 2.5 to 3.5%. With strategic location in the heart of the Southeast Asia and ever-growing logistical and digital connectivity, Thailand remains an attractive place as investment destination, as evidently shown by several rankings. Thailand ranks the first in emerging market in 2021 by Bloomberg, and the best country to start a business in 2019 and 2020 by US News and World Report. The recent increase in bilateral trade between Thailand and Hungary is good evidence of the Thai and Hungarian agency efforts. During the first 7 months of this year, our two-way trade has increased 10%, amounting to 423 million US dollars. Through Thailand 4.0 strategy, Thailand is transforming into a technology and innovation-driven economy. The Eastern Economic Corridor Initiative, or EEC, is at the core of the strategy and promotes investment in targeted value-based industries. Let me highlight some of the potential areas that could be explored for possible exchanges. Hungary's outstanding exposure in water management are one of the top sectors that could be shared with businesses in Thailand. Other areas of Hungary expertise, including pharmaceuticals, electronic, energy, food processing, and medical device industry, are also among Thailand's most prominent industries and could be promoted for future cooperation. I am pleased to note that Thailand has a policy to support startup businesses to promote inclusive growth amidst growing competition. And because of Thailand's strength in biodiversity and cultural diversity, we are also focusing on the promotion of biocircular green startups and social startups. Thailand highly values its economic partnership with Hungary. Our 3 representative offices here, namely the Royal Thai Embassy in Budapest, the Office of Commercial Affairs of Thailand in Budapest, and the Office of the Thailand Board of Investment in Frankfurt, Germany, have been working actively to promote bilateral trade and investment, and will spare no efforts to assist the Thai and Hungarian entrepreneurs and business people who wish to conduct trade and investment activities with potential partners. Dear participants, once again, I wish to thank the Board of Investment of Thailand, the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as all the panelists, the moderators, and the organizing team for your support and cooperation. I believe that this business forum will provide relevant information to encourage closer networks and increase economic activities between our business sectors. I wish you successful deliberations and fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for your very interesting remarks. Our next speaker is Mr. Laszlo Bódi, who is the Vice Chairman of the Committee for International Affairs of the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mr. Bódi, please take the stage.
Thank you, Mr. Till, and good morning to Budapest and good afternoon to Bangkok. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to greet His Excellency Mr. Bhagavat Tanskul, Ambassador of Thailand in Hungary, Mr. Kriegari Tiendukul, Vice Chairman of the Thai Industries, Mr. Chanin Kauchan, Deputy Secretary General of the Thailand Board of Investment. Also, I would like to greet the representative of the business organizations brought from Hungary and Thailand. I sincerely welcome all the invited guests. It is a great honor for me to have the opportunity to address you today. In the foreign economic strategy of the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the development of the foreign economic relations with Thailand is of paramount importance. Thailand is a potential partner for Hungarian companies willing to open towards Asian countries, especially in the ASEAN region. Thailand offers many great business opportunities for Hungarian companies. Just to mention the export of food and beverages, automotive industry, ICT, water and waste management, pharmaceutical industry, education, and tourism. The bilateral trade volume between our countries was $653 million in 2019, and it has reached $673 million last year. Between January and May 2020, the value of the Hungarian export was $61 million, import was $215 million. This year, in the same period, Hungarian export reached $68.4 million, import value was $231.4 million. The growth of the trade relations are facilitated by both the Embassy of Thailand in Hungary and the Embassy of Hungary in Bangkok. The Hungarian companies are helped in Thailand by 2 trade commercial attachés at the Hungarian embassy. I would warmly welcome all the guests present on this event. We are very grateful to the partners in Thailand, the Board of Investment and the Embassy of Thailand in Hungary for organizing this event and also giving us the opportunity to further develop the economic and trade relations between Thailand and Hungary. We are convinced that it will assure a strong framework for the development of bilateral business relations. Allow me to close my welcome speech and wish you good health and well-being.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bodi. Very interesting to hear that the investments in Thailand for Hungarian companies are getting more interesting. Also, that the trade is increasing even in these challenging times. Times is actually a very positive sign. So I think there is a lot more to come. So now I would like to start our first session, which is focusing on new policies, which I think particularly is interesting for potential investors. Our first speaker is Mr. Kriengkrai Tianukun, Vice Chairman of the Federation of Thai Industries and the representative of the Joint Standing Committee on Commerce, Industry and Banking of Thailand. He will speak on Thailand's post-COVID outlook, a topic which finally seems to get more concrete in view of decreasing new infections in Thailand and the gradual reopening of the country and also the world. Khun Kriengkrai, please take the stage.
Good afternoon from Bangkok, Thailand. His Excellencies, Mr. Phakawat Tansakul, Ambassador of Thailand to Hungary, Mr. Laszlo Bodi, Vice Chairman of the Committee of the International Affairs of the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Honorable Speaker and moderators, distinguished participants. It's a great pleasure for me to give you a brief of the economics and of the Thailand of the post-COVID-19 outlook. So we would like to start from in the first quarter of the 2011. Economic activities was affected by the second wave of the COVID-19 outbreak, with the Thai economy shrinking by minus 2.6% due to the decrease in the private consumption. However, comparing with the second quarter this year, the Thai economy returned to expand at 7.5% from the low base in the same period last year. As for the third wave of the outbreaks in April this year, it was found that the pandemic was fast and spread widely across the country, with the number of the new cases per day increasing at a high rate. As a result of the government announces the lockdown measure in the infected zone, it affects economic activities directly, such as no service to sit and dining at the restaurant, work from home measures, setting the boundary of the situations for the enforcement of control measure classified by area, and so on. In the present day, COVID-19 infection is getting better and plans to procure more vaccines. This led to the relaxations of some disease control measure in September this year. As the epidemic situation has begun to ease, it is expected that it will benefit the economy of the fourth quarter this year. Therefore, JSCCIB forecasted GDP decreased during minus 0.5 to 1%. In July 2021, we export at 22.6 billion US dollar, which increased around 20.3% and continued to expand for 5 months since the recovery of the main market, such as USA, EU, and China. Global production continued to expand, reflected in the global manufacturing PMI, which stood above 50 for the 13th month in a row. While Thai currency began to weaken, it has made Thai products compete well in the world market. On the other hand, the high price of the crude oil causes related plastic resin and the chemicals product to be more expensive. For the first 7 months, 2021, we export 155 billion US dollar, which expand around 16.2% compared to the first 7 months this year. In import is 152 billion US dollar, which increased around 28.7%. So for the first 7 months, from January to July, trade balance is a surplus about 2.6 billion US dollar. Challenges in containing the outbreak factories and the need of the acceleration of the vaccination progress. However, we cannot control the infected labor cluster in the whole supply chain. It will directly affect the Thai economy, especially in the real sector. The shortage of the semiconductors in the global market, it impacts the related industry, which suspend their production. For instance, the automobile, electronic parts, and computer industries. Higher costs of the transportation and logistic systems, since the container were facing a shortage situation, which is not enough for delivery and transportation. Growth for the household debt. It will be a pressure for domestic demand and solvency in the future. Alternative vaccines for society is a project of the private sector in Thailand to sharing the benefit back to the society, which is suffered by the pandemic. Establishing a field hospital is another measure to help people in the infected zone, which is a planned area based in Samut Sakhon provinces. The 12 target industry, it will be a new engine to drive the economy as a long-term policy. It will determine the direction restructuring of production, both agriculture, industry, services of Thailand to be effective, systematically, continuously, and sustainably support the regional economy. First S-curve is an existing industry in the country. New S-curve is a form of the new industry. We believe that both parts will be able to drive economy and help us to expand the existing industries, which increase the population's income. Moreover, 12 target industry is an industry with good growth prospects in the future, from being a high-tech industry, energy saving, and a sustainable environment friendly. We can divide the target industry into 12 groups as follows. BCG model, biocircular green economy, as a national agenda is to bring what we already have and build strength from inside and connect Thailand to the world community, including agriculture, food, health and medicine, clean energy, tourism, and creative economy. The BCG is according with the European Green Deal policy, which views climate change as a challenge to the human existence. Therefore, the announcements of the European Green Deal transition policy at the beginning of the 2020, along with the digitalization policy, which cover 3 pillars of strategy: reducing greenhouse gas emission to zero, creating a circular economy, and creating a non-toxic environment from the main idea of both policies. Thailand and the EU are focusing on sustainability. In addition, Thailand is a country with a high biodiversity in food, medicine, herbs, fibers, bioplastics. We believe that this policy will help good cooperation on sustainability issue of Thailand and the European Union in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khun Chiangkai. First of all, that sounds promising. If I see the numbers, it's good to see that Thailand is already kind of rebounding, and I have hopes that it re-emerges again from a crisis as so many times before, stronger than it used to be. So thank you very much for your words and your presentation. Next speaker is Khun Chanin Kauchan, the Deputy Secretary General of the Board of Investment of Thailand, who will speak on resilience strategies and supports for investment in Thailand. Having worked with the Board of Investment for about 20 years and being a big fan of this organization, I'm really curious what Khun Chanin has to say, and I'm looking forward to his presentation. Khun Chanin. Khun Chanin, you are still muted.
Thank you, too. His Excellency Mr. Phakawat Tanskun, Ambassador of Thailand to Hungary, Mr. Laszlo Bodi, Vice Chairman of Committee for International Affairs of the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Honorable Speaker, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning in Hungary and good afternoon in Bangkok. So, first of all, I would like to thank for your interesting to Thailand and listen to us about Thailand, and I hope the relation between Hungary and Thailand will going well more. Today we're talking about Thailand. I don't know, when we talk about Thailand, what are you in your mind about Thailand? Maybe anyone may think about Thai food, sun, sand, beach, or Thai culture. Today I will walk in about the business. So a little bit to introduce you more about Thailand. Thailand have almost 70 million people, and we are classified in the middle class income of the country. The income of people is about the middle class, and we would like to going out from the middle income tab, and we have the more than 13 FTA with many nations, and the last one is RCEP that I will talk to you more. The product from Thailand is the major product is automotive that we export to all over in the world, more than 130 countries, and we are number 11 in terms of automotive producer in 2019. And other products is electronic and electrical products that we export to all over the world. In terms, just like a hard disk drive, we are the biggest one as the exporter to the world market. And another one is agriculture, like a food products and product from agriculture. And also another one is health service. Health service is also big. We are top 5 in ASEAN medical service, top 5 in the biggest medical tourist market in the world. And the another one that many one know is Thailand is destination for tourists. Just only this during time we just drop for tourists because the COVID come. A trade partner, the major trade partner of Thailand now is the China, Japan, United States, and our ASEAN country. And Thailand, we have the target for new industry to add the engine for our growth, as Mr. Kriengai already mentioned that. For the Thailand 4.0 strategy, we would like to lead Thailand with the creativity and innovation, so to drive the Thai economy. When COVID come, our challenging, actually we have our challenging before COVID. We already have for the climate change, aging society. Thailand country also going to be aging society, and also digital age that going to disrupt many activity. But when COVID come, it disrupt many things more. From that challenging, we create the opportunity from the crisis, from the climate change, environment and impact awareness. So Thailand have lined up the new strategy for BCG from our natural resource that can be the engine to drive our growth. So we in Thailand, we have biodiversity that this of natural resource can be transformed to many kind of product with the biotechnology. And we're thinking about how to do the business in recycle and upcycle in Thailand. And another thing is smart city and green and smart energy and green mobility. So this is the thing that we are on the trend that to solve the climate change. With the green energy and smart energy is our high effort to put in Thailand to make sure that Thailand will have the green energy support to investors to invest in Thailand. And for this, we also support for the new engine as our to drive our country. And as I told you that we base our main industry is automotive. We would like to reserve our automotive industry can be competitiveness. So we now try to force our automotive industry to green mobility. That means the EV industry. For aging society, we saw the opportunity for the healthcare that Thai people will have more awareness for their health, and so we need the system for elderly care. So and Thailand as the medical tourist destination, many foreigners come to be practiced in Thailand. So we already have many of the world-class standard hospitals. So we need the medical device and supply and also pharmaceutical to support that. And with the aging society, we have not enough the labor for many industry. Right now, Thailand have to import the labor from our neighboring country, but we would like to rely on our country. So we try to improve our industry to use more automation. So not only for factory or business in Thailand, we would like to adopt the automation technology with the new technology of the digital technology. And Thailand already launched the 5G telecom system that can support many digital technology to use in our business, like smart farming, smart factory, and smart city. And when COVID comes, everything to be accelerated to be more digital transformation. And for BOI, ourselves also have to do some revision of investment promotion policy to adopt to the new thing that is coming. This is the sample that we just revise. We like the package of to promote the EV industry in Thailand that can get corporate income tax up to 11 years. And also we revise the policy for electronic sector to invite more investors to come to Thailand to respond to the more demand in this industry. And we also rely on the plastic and packaging industry that also very important, and to support the BCG model as well. And we have the new policy to encourage our industry to adopt a new technology like digital technology and automation to make sure that our existing business can be compete in the market. This is what we already do. And with the COVID-19 come together with the climate change, Thailand set up the new strategy to drive our economy that we call BCG, that Mr. Genkai already mentioned a little bit. And BCG is along with the SDG of the United Nations. In Thailand, we have a lot of biodiversity that could be material for the biotechnology and can be many kind of product from bio. And we already in the competitive food industry, so we would like to increase more value added to the food industry. And this is this is to show you the opportunity from the BCG, the strategy from Thailand. And I mentioned that Thailand is the world's #5 biggest medical tourism market. So we still need many supply to this industry. Especially, we would like to promote medical device in Thailand to support the Thai market and also the regional markets, and also pharmaceutical. That is the chance for the Hungarian businessman. And we mentioned that Thailand will be the medical hub in the region. So for the Asia, so that is our strategy. So the government will put more effort to support on this industry. And we would like to change the farm agriculture to the future agriculture and use biotechnology. So that means we would like to line up the income of the farmers. So we will promote them to change the way of doing their farm to be smart farm, smart agriculture, and to support them to bring the material from farm to food, and from farm to pharmaceutical, and more aware other product like this. And also automotive will be next generation automotive like EV, as I mentioned. And this is my summary, the business opportunity in Thailand that I already talked about investment. And also another chance an opportunity for Hungarian businessman is sourcing. I think between Thailand and Hungary can be the center for each other, like Thailand can be center for ASEAN and region, that Hungarian businessman can come and find out the opportunity from the business in here. And also sourcing from Thailand to support to Hungary and also European country. And what you will get from Thailand, actually Thai people, we are open society. So Thai people also welcome foreigner as a guest and investor. And the worker also adopt to investor culture that easy to adopt and work together with foreigner and can be trained. And our banking and financial system in Thailand also stable after we passed the crisis in 1997. And we are in the strategic location, so we are in between the big market like China and India. So you can enjoy the market from this region with the connectivity from Thailand. And RCEP, as I said, is the new free trade agreement that we will have you more chance to do this market. And I think this is the biggest market in the world market. And Thailand already prepared the area for you to set up the business that we call EEC, that will be the connectivity gateway to ASEAN and also ASEAN to the world as well. And we already developed the world-class industrial estate and infrastructure in this area for you to invest in Thailand. And Thailand already launched the 5G telecommunication to support the new technology, especially digital technology, that to make sure that all business in Thailand can be compete in the world market. And this 5G will drive in many things. So this is also your opportunity to do this business with the 5G to adopt with agriculture, manufacturing, or transportation, or healthcare. And we have the clear strategy that we would like to be carbon neutrality country. So we expect that we will install the renewable energy 50% of total demand by 2070 to make sure that the oil industry come to Thailand will be green industry. So that means your product is not toxic to the world. And we have the strong support from the government to support you when you come to Thailand. And BOI also provide, our office also provide tax incentive to the investor to come to invest in many sectors. So maybe you can get a corporate income tax more than up to 8 years, and plus if you do some R&D, so do training, advanced training for the worker and anything more, and on more than 10 years if you doing in technology-based development. And for your easier to come to Thailand, the government already set up the smart visa that you can come to Thailand easier. And with this visa, it will have many benefits to you. So in normal way, you come to Thailand, you have to get visa, and then you have to require for work permit. But this smart visa is integrated together, visa and work permit integrate together, and we provide you the maximum 4-year visa for you and can be continued and relax for many regulation. And especially is your spouse and your children who come together with you to Thailand also can use this visa as the work permit as well. And BOI also have one another thing that may be good for you that we call the build unit that can link between you and local Thai industry. Maybe you need to find a partner, you come contact to the build unit. You would like to do sourcing, you come to contact to the build unit. And every year the build unit organize the Subcon Thailand, that is the biggest subcontracting exhibition in Thailand. And I hope that until now you will think about Thailand more than Thai food and tourist destination. Maybe you have another thing to think about Thailand to do business to get your profit from Thailand. And Thailand can be the place that recharge your brain, recharge your battery to create many things, create more business in Thailand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kunchanin. Very interesting. It shows again that Thailand is actually seeing what the times require. I find the promotions, the new promotions of the BOI very interesting because they are a good mix out of like enhancing existing industries like automotive and agriculture, but also going after new industries, robotics and so on. So I think it's a very, very well thought through plan. As I said, I'm a big fan of the BOI for many years, and I'm praising your efficiency wherever I can. And I can only recommend everybody who wants to do business in Thailand to get in touch with the BOI. It's really great, and they have a lot of incentives in their pockets, so they can help you to set up and just get over those first, often not so easy years, and have a successful business there. Next speaker on our agenda is Dr. Luxmon Atapit, the Deputy Secretary General of Thailand's Eastern Economic Corridor Office. The EEC, so-called EEC, is a special economic region close to Bangkok. Kunjanit had one slide on that as well. And it's offering a number of additional incentives to investors. Dr. Luxmon, we are looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you. Good morning to our colleagues in Europe, and good afternoon to colleagues in Thailand. Today, I'd like to introduce to you the Eastern Economic Corridor of Thailand, or the EEC. We're waiting for the slide presentation. Right. Okay, so let's have a look at EEC. EEC covers 3 provinces in the eastern part of Thailand: Chak Cheng Sao, Chonburi, and Rayong. Many of you may already know that the eastern seaboard area of Thailand has long been an industrial area. So we already have lots of industries in the EEC to start with. This time round, the government is working on upgrading many infrastructures in the EEC area to prepare the Eastern Economic Corridor for specific industries. The infrastructure that we are working on at the moment in the EEC are as follows. First set of infrastructure that I would like to talk about are the transport infrastructure. As you can see from this map, EEC is connected to Bangkok. Chak Cheng Sao is the province next to Bangkok. So the whole area from Bangkok to EEC is the Eastern Economic Corridor. We are now working to connect Bangkok to the EEC area with high-speed rail. So at the moment, we have already signed a contract for the high-speed railway to connect 2 international airports in Bangkok, Don Mueang and Suvarnabhumi Airport to the new international airport in the EEC area. Towards the end of the map, the Utapao International Airport. Utapao International Airport, we already signed a contract for the construction as well. Apart from the high-speed rail and the international airport, we are also expanding the 2 existing seaports in the EEC area. On the left-hand side, you see the Lam Chabang seaport. This is the main export seaport of Thailand. We are going to expand to phase 3 to increase the capacity of the Lam Chabang seaport. We are also working on the phase 3 of the Mataput seaport as well. This is essentially the petrochemical seaport. And what we are working on right now is the phase 3, the new liquid terminal. You can see from this map that we have all modes of transportation available in the EEC area. And we are not stopping, we are working to upgrade all this infrastructure. Apart from the transport infrastructure, we have also worked a lot on the digital infrastructure. As you may know, Thailand is the first country in ASEAN that completed the commercial 5G auction since last year. And within the first year of the auction, there was a condition that the provider must roll out 5G connectivity in EEC area, at least 50%. But I'm very pleased to let you know that at this moment, we already have 5G coverage 100% in the EEC area. This 5G is going to be very important for many things, especially for Industry 4.0, for automation, for smart factories. And as we know, 5G will means that data connectivity will be much faster, much better. So we are also aiming to work on a common data lake infrastructure in the EEC area as well. And this will be very important for digital related industry. Next is the infrastructure for research, development, and innovation. Oh, I must add that for the digital infrastructure, apart from the 5G connectivity that we have, we are also working on the digital park, or what we call the EECD. At the moment, we are designing the EECD area to be a center for digital related industry. I think by the end of this year or the beginning of next year, we will go to market sounding and pitching for this EECD project. And hopefully I'll be able to talk to you all again about this exciting project. So I was going to mention the R&D and innovation infrastructure. In the EEC area, we have this EECI or EEC Innovation Park, which is a technology platform. Within this innovation park, we have R&D and innovation facilities, laboratories, and shared pilot plants for industries, for businesses to be with us in this area to enjoy all these facilities. There are a few worth mentioning laboratories and pilot plants in the area. For example, the biorefinery pilot plants. This is going to be an important facilities for bioprocessing. And these biorefinery pilot plants will be a joint venture between the NASA of Thailand and the BioWest Europe. So the facilities is really world-class standard. In the EECI area, we also have the Synchrotron Facility. Many of you may know that Synchrotron Facility, synchrotron light source, is an important infrastructure for many research development and development of products in the area of nanotechnology and medical science, for example. And another very interesting feature of the EECI is that we are going to have a sandbox for many activities. For example, we are going to have a sandbox for UAV, for drone, and also a sandbox for AV, the automated vehicle in the EECI area. So we are working on all this infrastructure to have the area ready to host targeted industries in the EEC area. Many of the speakers have already talked about the targeted industries or targeted technologies. Just to recap again, in the world today, we see the emerging trends. What we see is that there is a very much concentration on the green recovery. There is very much focus on the low carbon society. We see digital adoption accelerated during the pandemic. And we also see the trend of bio-revolution and the focus on health and medical issues. With all these post-COVID trend, we have a look at our own Thailand policy. Thailand policy focus on BCG. As already mentioned by many speakers, B is the bioeconomy, C circular, and G green. Taking into consideration the global trend and the policy focus of Thailand at the moment, we look at our 12 targeted industries, and then we group them into 3+1 clusters. what we can see is that our targeted industries fit very well into this particular cluster. First is health and well-being, or actually is the B of the government policy. Within this cluster, it ranges from advanced agriculture to food for the future to medical and comprehensive health care. And underlying many of these industries are actually biotechnologies. The second theme, second cluster that we saw is the digital cluster. And the targeted industries within this cluster includes robotics, automation, intelligent electronics. Digital itself is our targeted industry as well. And defense. In the modern world, I think technology of the defense is very much digital. The third theme that we have identified is around decarbonization. Within the decarbonization cluster, very prominent is our next generation automotive. Thailand has already announced our policy of 30 at 30, meaning that by the year 2030, 30% of automotive production in Thailand will be EV. So this is a very promising sector going forward. And within the decarbonization theme, we also look at many technologies such as recycling and carbon management. The +1 cluster is built upon the advantage of EEC, which is the multimodal transportation connectivity that we have. And that we say we are a very advantaged area for logistic related industry. Now let's have a closer look at each of the cluster. For the bioeconomy or the health and well-being cluster, as I mentioned earlier, we have agriculture as the base. And Thailand has very rich biodiversity. And with this, we are looking into two kind of tracks. One is the plant-centric and another one is the human-centric. For the plant-centric, we say advanced agriculture, adding bioprocessing technology, and the products for the future could be functional food, functional ingredient, food additives, specialty foods, and also bioactive ingredients from herbs as well. Thailand has very rich herb resources. On the human-centric track, we have this particular important project called Genomics Thailand. And this will lead to the focus of precision medicine and regenerative medicine, very much concentrate on advanced therapy, medicinal products, ATMPs. And there are so many opportunities from drug discovery for pharmaceutical industry as well. When we look at the ecosystem for the health and well-being, as mentioned earlier, we have the EECI with the Biopolis. Apart from the biorefinery pilot plants, we also have facilities for plant factories, smart greenhouse, phenomics greenhouse available in the EECI area. And our National Science and Technology Development Agency of Thailand has so many experts in this area to work with industry hand in hand. The Synchrotron Thailand, I already mentioned. For the human-centric track, there is this important project on the Genomics Thailand. So for the Genomics Thailand project, what we are going to have is that in the EEC area, we will have a genome sequencing lab, which in the first 5 years, we will sequence 50,000 whole genomes of Thai population. Many of you in this industry will know that 50,000 samples is a very good samples for Thai or Southeast Asia genetics. And this will be very useful for many related industry, research and development and innovation. There are so many business opportunities derived from Genomics Thailand project, including in manufacturing for digital health and personalized medicine. There are also opportunities for precision and regenerative therapeutics, and also for pharmaceutical industry as well. For the digital theme, as I mentioned earlier, 5G is very important, not for final consumer like us, but for industry actually. There are so many solutions that will benefit from 5G, ranging from agriculture, from smart factory, from healthcare, telemedicine, precision medicine, robotics, and many more. We are working a lot on 5G use cases and pilot projects in the EEC area at the moment, and we really welcome investment and participation in our 5G use cases pilot projects. The decarbonization theme. As I mentioned earlier, the very prominent industry within this cluster is next generation automotive and the sustainable mobility in general, I would say. Also, another very interesting opportunities for investment is smart city. And I think you agree with me that for smart city in the world today, many of the smart solution is actually geared towards decarbonization of cities. The Thailand EV roadmap, I already mentioned the 30 at 30. We are having a very clear roadmap how we are going to achieve the 30 at 30, how we are going to change our automotive landscape to ZEV into the future. And may I also mention that the BOI has very attractive incentive packages for this particular sector as well. In the EEC area, we provide supporting facilities. We have this, what we call the Automotive and Tire Testing Research and Innovation Center. We have the Battery Lab. TÜV of Germany also work with us in the EEC area for standard testing. And we are rolling out many charging stations in the EEC area. For the green and circular economy around decarbonization clusters, we are very happy to report to you that we are supporting industries in both energy efficiency and resource and waste management. There are several pilot projects in the EEC area on this front, and we are working to roll out the carbon trading platform together with the Federal Thai Industry and the Thai Greenhouse Gas Organization. For the smart city, as I mentioned to you, I see in Thailand, we say for a city to be smart, we would like to look at 7 smart solutions: people, living, mobility, energy, environment, economy, and governance. And for smart cities, there are so many opportunities for investment in smart solutions, especially around low carbon and circular economy as well. The +1 cluster that I mentioned earlier is on logistics. And I would like to just recap again that with the multimodal transportation connectivity that we have in the EEC area, together with the industry base, together with the digital readiness that we have in the area, we believe that EEC is a very good place for logistic industries, distribution park, hub for many air cargo, for example. And our Lam Chabang seaport will have connectivity not only in Thailand, but beyond to neighboring countries as well. The Utapao International Airport will be an important air logistic hub into the future. Right. And in EEC area, we have what we call promoted zones. So we have specific promoted zones. As you can see from the map, we have the EECD, EECI that I mentioned. We also have the EECG, the Genomics Thailand. We have Medical Hub. The Utapao International Airport is going to be an airport city. It's not only just an airport. So there are so many opportunities for investment around Eastern airport cities. And we also have the Banchang Innovation District as well. Apart from these specific promoted zones, we have also announced 26 industrial estates to be our promoted zones. So for industries to be with us in these industrial estates, you can enjoy good facilities and also incentives from the Board of Investment, and also certain privileges from the EEC as well to complement. I would like to point out that for the EEC, we have very interesting feature in our law. That is, we can do regulatory sandbox for new technologies. We can work with investor on regulatory guillotine to make sure that we can streamline process. And we have also one-stop service as well. And our very good partner is BOI. And you already know BOI very well, I believe. So let me stop here. And if you would like to have more information, please visit our website. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lukman. I think the EEC has really great potential. It's actually a very, very smart idea to say, first of all, we have a relatively small area which we developed to a first-class hub, and then add additional incentives to it. So it's really something what you as an investor should think about. If you are in these industries, you should definitely think about going there. It's amazing what's happening there at the moment. I mean, I see it firsthand if I'm driving there. The amount of building of railroads being built, the networks work perfectly. So it's a very interesting area to locate your investment. Plus, you're close to Bangkok and you're close to the airports. So now we come to our last presentation, which will be held by Dr. Kripaka Bunfung, Deputy Executive Director of the Thailand National Innovation Agency. And it will be on the landscape and ecosystem for startups and digital nomads, a topic which is gaining increasingly more importance in a digitalized world. Dr. Kripaka is unfortunately not able to present live, but pre-recorded a video clip which we will show for you now.
Good morning and good afternoon in Thailand. Thank you for the Royal Thai Embassy in Budapest, Hungary for inviting me to talking about the startup in digital nomad in Thailand. My name is Kripaka Bunfung. I am Deputy Executive Director of National Innovation Agency from Thailand. Today, I will be talking about the startup and landscape of digital nomad in Thailand. I would like to clarify more about the startup ecosystem and the planning and our strategy to support digital nomad. As I prepare my presentation to show about our ecosystem, on the first slide, you will see that in the middle of the universe, you will saw the Startup Thailand symbol. That one, we create the committee as a national agenda for almost 4 years. This year, we try to start and create the universe. You can see that in the inside of the center of universe, it's going to be collaboration between the government agency, between the university and private sector, VC, CVC, and also the association and international. Our organization, NIA, we are the bridge between, and we are the committee of the secretary to join and run this program. On the outer loop of the circle, you can saw the segment and industry that we are focused. We have the 9 industry segment that we're focusing on. It's going to be industry, health tech, travel, and business service, educational and government, and also the property and urban tech, fintech, and lifestyle. And we just add on one more on the universe we call the MarTech. It stands for music, arts, recreation, technology, because we believe that in the soft side of scientific, not only in the scientific can do the startup, and the social side, including the music and lifestyle, can create the new business as well. And also this year we're focusing on the deep technology. When we're talking about deep technology, we're talking about bringing some innovation from the laboratory and maybe from the science and technology institution to create the business and adding the value and create the new firm as a startup, and we call deep tech startup. Under this universe, and I would like to clarify more that after 5 years that we ran the Startup Thailand, we got this picture. Under this picture, we also would like to invite the foreign startup to do the business in Thailand. However, when some of the company from the foreign country, when they want to do the business in Thailand, they keep asking about what is the legal, how is the legislation, what is taxation, how is the ecosystem, how is the landscape, infrastructure, and everything. That's why ease of doing startup business is very important. Our organization, we create the startup hub in Thailand, and we call the global starting hub in Thailand. Why we create the hub? Because we believe that the hub will create the service and can help the foreign startup to land their business in Thailand. Because we have the landing pad service, we have the networking and business matching, including business consulting service for the startup, not only in Thailand, but also the foreign startup who would love to launch their project and land business in Thailand. As you can see on the map, we create the hub in 3 different areas in Thailand. In the northern part is Chiang Mai. We have the hub that we run for almost 2 years. We have 43 networks, and we have more than 2,600 participants and more than 30 partners, and almost more than 200 startup and tech entrepreneurs to join the project. Why I highlight on the Chiang Mai? Because the Chiang Mai, they have a lot of digital nomads who live, and right now they do the business in Chiang Mai. In the central part of the Bangkok, we run the hub as well, but that one we focusing on the cyber tech district. That one we have almost 1,000 participants and 52 startups and 30 partners and the event. And we just this year, we start the new hub in the area that is the Thai government focusing on, we call the EEC. That one will be like the economic area and corridor that focusing on industry, health industry, science technology, and also on the agricultural and the food industry as well. The service from the Startup Thailand and the Global Startup Hub service, you can see that all the service starting from the visa. When you are the foreign company and you would love to landing your business in Thailand, you have to apply for the visa for your worker, the owner, or the investor. We have the smart visa, particularly for the startup and for the talent. We call the smart visa type S. That's going to be easier for the startup to run their business. And they can give the benefit for the spouse and children and in their family as well. We create the community and the network for Thai and foreigners to join and learn more about the ecosystem. We have the financial support under the organization NAA. We have the funding agency, and we also have youth startup fund to link it with the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, Science, Research, and Innovation as well. And we also have the consultancy service in deep technology, in the legal, finance, and marketing, and also the business matching. And we also create the evening space and the working space that you can join. Technology and innovation infrastructure, including the database that you can learn about the ecosystem and get information about the startup in Thailand. And also we provide the sectoral development created by the incubator and accelerator program that I will be clarify later. And also we have the big event or the huge event we call the SITE, Startup Thailand and Innovation Explore. This year will run as well on the mid of the September that I will give you a detail later if you would like to join our event and you will learn more about our ecosystem. As I mentioned earlier about the smart visa, we have the 10 specific industry that government tried to focus that I believe that all of the startup will join and will be enter in this category. For the startup, it's going to be the startup is smart visa. Type S is going to be startup entrepreneur. That one can give you very easy to get the visa and give you convenience when you're staying in Thailand. And this one can be expand more to your spouse, your family, and your children as well. For the smart visa, we're launching on the February 1st, 2018. And that one, we believe that most of the startup, when they apply for the smart visa, they get more the benefit because first, you get the permission to work without the work permit. Exception from the 4.1 employee ratio. And maximum is 4 years of visa that we collect in Thailand. And you don't have to 90-day report. Because if you are the foreigner, you have to report every 90 days. But under the smart visa, you report become only 1 year report. And you get the fast tag service at the airport and no re-entry requirement. That one we work closely with the Thailand Board of Investment. That one going to be the benefit for the smart visa for the startup. And for the networking and ecosystem, that picture is taking place before the COVID-19. But right now, after Thailand, we are going to be reopening our country again. And starting from today, that's going to be domestic transportation. And I believe that in the next few months, we will openly the full in Thailand. But right now, we have the Phuket sandbox for the foreigner to fly in and quarantine for 14 days. But quarantine in Phuket sandbox is going to be in the heaven because you're not quarantined in the hotel. You can go and you have to ring in the city and in the Treaties island of the Phuket. That's why if you want to fly in Thailand, I recommend the Phuket sandbox. And after that, after 14 staying in Phuket island, you can fly to Bangkok, you can join the Chiang Mai, you can do whatever in the area in Thailand and create the our community network. For the accelerating program and the incubation, we try to do the incubation and accelerator of the SpaceX. That one is stand from the accelerator incubation program in food industry. The SpaceX accelerator program, we partner with the Thai Union. The Thai Union is going to be the biggest of the tuna can and frozen food of the seafood from Thailand. And I think they're going to be the #1 exporter as well. And Mahidol University, Thai BEF, Betago, and Deloitte. That one we cooperate with, we invite the startup from Thai and also the foreigner to join in this project. After the pitching, we selecting them to join the accelerator program. After that, the Thai Union and the Thai BEF and Betago can use the service of startup and they also can investment in the startup as well. For the egg growth, the egg growth will be the AgTech accelerator. This one going to be for the agricultural. That one we work closely with Kubota, Nest, and Lice as well. And this one because the AgTech is one of the targeting in deep tech startup as well. Because in Thailand, the agricultural industry is quite broadened and we are the main and half of our business is stand from agricultural and food. That's why we have SpaceX for food industry. We have the egg growth from the agricultural technology. And we also provide the nursery area that you can use and the service. And that one you can get using the space in Mahidol University. You can create in the co-innovative space between the startup, mentor, and vendor and working together. We get the meeting and conference room, we get the service. You can get the food maker space and the basic laboratory equipment that you can use for the deep tech startup under the SpaceX program. This one going to be the example of the company that joined the SpaceX. That one going to be use technology to non-invasive system for QA and QC for the first coconut juice using electromagnetic technology. And also for the egg growth, it's going to be the transforming the agricultural industry in Thailand through our innovation. That one after we run the project on egg growth, most of the startup, they get the investor and they also create demo in the market, not only in the domestic market, also in the foreigner market as well, that they can explain in the growing state. And also this year, as I mentioned earlier, we have the annual conference, the biggest event in Thailand. We call the Startup Thailand and Innovation Thailand. This year we call SIZE 2021. Under the theme of the concept of Deep Tech Rising, the next frontier of innovation is going to be the virtual event. It's going to be occur between 15 and 18 of September 2021. I would like to invite all of you to visit our event and to learn more, because on our event, it's not only the conference, it's going to be the business matching, it's going to be have the virtual booth and also have the data, and you can connect and talking about the business mentor as well. Under this project of this year, under the Deep Tech, we separate into 5 category of the technology, and the AdTech for the agricultural, food technology, MedTech for the medical and health technology, space technology, and RE Tech. You might have the question, what is the RE? The RE stands for the AI, robotic, and immersive technology or IoT. That one going to be 5 areas of the Deep Tech that we focus on the conference and about the ecosystem as well. Under this size event, you can have attend to the forum and separate into the 5 sectors that I mentioned earlier. And you also have the Deep Tech Show, business consulting, business matching, and you can visit to the mentor and the booth. And also you can see the list of the startup that will going to be awarded in this project, and including innovative firm in Thailand. And also we have the primary award for the startup in this year. It's going to be the startup of the year, the VC and brotherhood, and also innovation in time of crisis. And thank you so much for listening to my presentation. If you have the question and you want to learn more, you can go to our website, www.na.or.th. And thank you very much.
So thanks for this presentation. I can't thank Dr. Kritpaka personally, but I found this very interesting. Maybe one remark regarding the sandbox, which was mentioned. I don't know who heard it already, but it's most likely a similar program will be opened in Bangkok, so that it's also going to be possible to fly directly into Bangkok and then move freely in Bangkok for 14 days before you then can go out. So I found this a very positive news, which shows that the opening process continues. With this video clip, what we just saw, the presentations of the policy session ends. Unfortunately, we are a little bit late, so I would actually like to skip the Q&A session and go immediately to the next session. We will, of course, answer the questions we received. We will answer them by email, but I think it just takes too much time if you do this now. Live. So with this, we end the policy session and we start our business practice session, which will be moderated by Christoph Begvary, who is the area manager of the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And with this, I would like to hand over to Christoph. Christoph, please take the stage.
Hello, good morning everyone in Hungary, and good afternoon everyone in Thailand. Thank you very much for Mr. Till Morset for giving me the floor. Just a quick introduction from my side. My name is Christoph Begvary. I am the area manager at the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, responsible for Thailand. And At the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we are working in close cooperation with both the Embassy of Thailand in Hungary and both the Embassy of Hungary in Thailand, and also with the BOI, we have a long and very fruitful cooperation. Now, with this short introduction, I would like to open the business practice session of today's webinar. The first topic will be the realizing trading opportunities in Thailand, and the presenters will be the commercial attaches from both embassies. So first, our first presenter in this session will be Ms. Tapani Kruanpravit, Thai commercial attaché at the Royal Thai Embassy in Budapest. Ms. Tapani, the floor is yours.
Okay, everyone hear me now? Right now I'm sharing my PowerPoint. Everyone see it? Yes, okay.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, and the PowerPoint is visible. Just you should make a full screen. Yes, visible.
Okay, yes.
Okay, great.
Your Excellency, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure for me to be here and participate in this meeting. Unfortunately, the time is kind of late, so I will be doing short presentation. So Thailand has the longest relationship with Hungary among the ASEAN countries. Although the diplomatic relations between Thailand and Hungary were officially established in 1973, but the bilateral relations start 145 years earlier. It was in 1872 that the first Treaty of Amity, Trade and Navigation was signed between Austro-Hungarian monarchy and the Kingdom of Siam. But after that, we have more visiting between the Thai and the Hungarian. The agreement, for example, like Thailand and Hungary signed a bilateral trade agreement in 1987. The double taxation avoiding agreement was signed in 1989. Investment protection agreement in 1991. Aviation agreement in 1993. This is just for example. The economic chamber have played and continue to play a prominent role in DB bilateral economic relations. The volume of bilateral trade has been continuously increased since 1987, when the total bilateral trade hardly surpassed 18 million US dollar. However, the total trade figure vary from year to year depending on the market situation and the activity of the trader. In 2020, the total trade turnover around 774 million US dollar, which behind the turnover of previous year. I forgot to skip so you can see the history of Thailand and Hungarian trade. So if you see in 2020, Thailand has Hungary import from ASEAN a lot, and from Thailand is rubber and article is 38.4%. So as the product range, Hungary export to Thailand, it includes electrical machinery and parts thereof, machinery and mechanical applicants, optical and measuring instruments, pharmaceutical products, ceramic products, vehicle. In recent years, Hungary has achieved great success in economic transformation. The external and internal financial situation has been improving with growing rate of GDP. A way to increase the competitive position of Hungarian export to European Union could be the deepening of cooperation with Thai companies. Large international companies cooperating in Hungary have already become significant importer of Thai products, such as JB, Siemens, Philips, Adidas, Triumph, and considering the technological background and the largest business success in other countries, Hungarian manufacturers should have good business chance in infrastructure project in Thailand. Delivery of high facilitator, power plants, motor trains, medical equipment. If you see on the presentation, the import from Thailand is electrical machinery is 49.57%, and the next one is machinery. The next one is rubber, and the last one is virtual knot runway. So we talk about the potential Thai export product categories offered for Hungary. I categorize into 3 groups. The group 1 is industrial product, like vehicle, automotive parts, and accessories. I like to give you more information that this is a big part of the product that Thai export to Hungary, not only vehicle and automotive, but computer and component as well, office machine, printer machines, air conditioning, electrical machinery, rubber products, and optical products and instruments. The group 2 is about consumer product, which is more important because if you come to Hungary, you see that there's a lot of service and food and from Thailand and from Asia more and more. In group 2, the first one is food and beverage. Although Hungary and Thai are both major agricultural producing countries, there are a lot of products that not produced or a supplying of which is sufficient in Hungary. Thai pineapple and tropical fruits as well as seafood are considered to be of good quality with reasonable price. The rice is known for its top quality. In 2020, Thai export rice to Hungarian to 200. There's a lot. It's more like 400% compared to 2019. And the next product is lifestyle and fashion product. A competition is strong from the other countries in Asia and South America. Thai exporters concentrate more on quality. This tendency is underlined by the fact that local subsidies of international companies regularly buy footwear, sport articles, and garments from Thailand. Other light industrial goods gaining popular include furniture, toys, suitcases, bags, household decorative items, hair crafts, as well as rubber gloves and other sanitary products. Silver jewelry and jewelry made of gold with diamond and other precious stones are imported by the largest retailer of these products. The next one is health and beauty products. In 2020, export of personal care and beauty products from Thailand were valued at around $2.4 billion due to an increasing awareness of health and wellness among customers in Hungary. There is a healthy demand for nature and herbal personal care and beauty products. An aging society in Hungarian people is growing segment, especially in skincare and oral care for Thai exporters. So this is an opportunity for Thai exporter. Thailand is one of the leading producers of herbal products in Asia, and herbal products are used as ingredient in the product of food, beverage, cosmetic, food supplements, and medicine, which is needed in Hungary as well. We are convinced that exporter of this product group to Hungary will also grow dramatically in near future, and our office will support this kind of product, all of the product that I mentioned in previous presentation. And also the next one, the last one is group 3, it's Thai massage restaurant. If you come to Hungary, I just come here for a month. I see a lot of Thai massage store and restaurant, and not many restaurants that cook for Thai chefs, but mostly cook from Vietnamese or Chinese. So I support Thai to come to Hungary and cook food because Hungarian people like Thai food as well. And this is a service part which conventionally will as less tradable and now frequently trade across nation borders. Thailand's international trade in service have increased along with the expansion of its GDP. Reflecting increase in country standard of living in Hungary, the demand for service has also expanded. Household purchase more service. In Hungary, the share of restaurant and hotel and recreation and culture in household consumption expenditure increased significantly in the last 10 years. So right now, there's more than 20 Thai restaurants in Hungary as well. And from the Department of International Trade Promotion, we have the policy called the Thai Select Program to certify and promote authentic Thai cuisine around the world. It is still of program to Thai restaurants, both overseas and local Thai restaurants in that serve authentic Thai food. I just came back from Croatia to give the Thai Select casserole to a lady that owned the Thai restaurant in Croatia, the first one who get a Thai Select, and she got many customers in Croatia, and I expecting that if there's someone in Hungary who, do the same or produce good food, good quality of Thai taste in Hungary, that will be popular as well. So we consider Hungary as one of the most important trade partners in Central Europe for Thailand. Globalization and information technology being people closer to each other. One country should not be isolated from other part of the world, especially not from Asia. In connection with all above, companies registered with our regional office will receive regular invitation to international trade fairs and business meetings sponsored by the Thai Ministry of Commerce, and may request our participation to contact Thai companies accredited by the Thai Ministry of Commerce. So at the end, I want to say that Ministry of Commerce proactively collect the business inquiry of those reliable Thai exporters who are keen to export overseas market. Among them, Hungary and regulatory organization virtual online business matching even for foreigner importers, including Hungarian companies. This unique event offers our esteemed Hungarian business partner excellent opportunity to foster their business relationship with Thailand. So in order to help your business activity with Thailand, our Office of Commercial Affairs will offer any help or any support that you need from us, that opportunity or trend in Hungary, or the opportunity that the exporter of Thailand would like to send it to Hungary. As a representative from the office, I would like to give you the information. If you can contact us from the website or from the phone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tapani, for your very interesting presentation. It was great to see also the business perspectives and the business potentials from our Thai partner side. And now we would like to see also from the Hungarian point of view. So I will give the floor to Ms. Ildikó Major and Ms. Camilla Balla, the Economic and Commercial Counselors of the Embassy of Hungary to Thailand.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, greetings from the Embassy of Hungary in Bangkok. I would like to thank the organizer for providing us the opportunity to talk about our embassy's work in relation to the promotion of trade between the two countries. And now let me start our presentation. So at the Embassy of Hungary, there are two economic and commercial counselors, Mr. Camilla Balla and myself. And if Hungarian companies contact us, we are ready to do market research in different topics that are relevant to their business, or provide information regarding the available export supporting programs. Or we usually do promotion work as well. We participate on trade fairs, and on the margins of trade fairs, we organize B2B meetings for companies. We also help companies in searching for potential distributors, and also contacting them if that helps, or communication is not easy between the two parties. We also provide information about local regulations, usually, for example, about import regulations to Thailand. We also keep touch with relevant authorities and organizations in Thailand and in Hungary as well. Just a few examples: the Thai Federation of Thai Industries, the Chamber of Commerce, and, for example, the Digital Economy Promotion Agency or the National Innovation Agency as well, the Department of International Trade Promotion, and HEPA, which is the Hungarian Export Promotion Agency, and they also have a country office in Tokyo. And getting back to the export support, this is a very recent news. The Foreign Market Growth Support Program has been launched or initiated by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And this program aims to help Hungarian companies realize international expansion by investment abroad. This is a regulation which provides for continuous application of companies for this government subsidy. The minimum amount of the subsidy is 500 million forints, and it can reach 4 billion forints as well, with a maximum aid intensity of 50%. There are a long list of conditions that these companies have to meet, but the basic conditions are on this slide. If you have questions regarding this support program, feel free to contact us or the Hungarian Export Promotion Agency. And now I would like to talk about some cooperation, international or bilateral, which have influence on business in Thailand. First of all, I would like to mention that Thailand joined the Madrid Agreement on the protection of trademarks in 2017, and Hungary is also a contracting party to this agreement. And also the EU-Thailand Free Trade Agreement, which was launched in 2013. The resumption of the negotiations is expected in 2022. And if this agreement is concluded, this could mean a great opportunity for Hungarian companies to export to Thailand. Among bilateral agreements between Hungary and the Kingdom of Thailand, here's a list of agreements which have relevance in the business point of view. There is an agreement between the two countries on the avoidance of double taxation, on the protection of investment, and on cooperation in the area of science and technology. We are planning to organize further meetings in this field and on agriculture as well. This agricultural agreement established a joint agricultural working group, which has just had its session organized by or hosted by the Thai side, but organized online. And on economic cooperation as well, this also established the Joint Committee on Economic Cooperation, and there might be a next session coming soon in the foreseeable future. We also, the two countries also have a memorandum of understandings. One of them is on the cooperation in the field of water resources management, which was concluded in 2019 between the Ministry of Interior of Hungary and the Office of National Water Resources of Thailand. And there has been already one meeting of the committee that was established by this cooperation in 2020. And there is another memorandum of understanding between the Board of Trade of Thailand and the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And with this next slide, I would like to give the floor to my colleague.
Thank you. Now I would like to introduce briefly the business sectors we consider important to the Hungarian companies and in which we see business potential. In these sectors, we had already been active in the last years, and we are also planning events in the foreseeable future. First of all, I would like to talk about the healthcare sector. As Thailand is being a medical hub and it has an aging society, we are planning to promote innovative Hungarian health companies in this sector. And in this framework, at the end of August, we had our business and scientific workshop titled Innovative Health Solutions in the COVID era, which we considered was a huge success. And as for the second sector, smart city, we have an active cooperation also with the Hungarian Digital Economy Promotion Agency, as well as from the Thai side with the National Innovation Agency, and we are planning to take part in the Smart City Expos to be held in Bangkok. As for food industry, we consider this one a very important sector. We have been also active in this field. In April, we organized a food suppliers forum, and we are also planning to have another one in the following months. We also keep contact with the main Thai agencies and government institutions like Food and Drug Administration and the Department for Livestock Development. We have concluded some agreements, like we have a regionalization agreement regarding the avian flu. And in process, we have an African swine regionalization agreement. It's very important for us because duck and goose liver export from Hungary is of high account. And the other sectors, as for agro innovation, in February, the Hungarian University of Agriculture and Life Science has been established, and we are now focusing on finding for this university partners in Thailand. And we also need we also see the need for IT solutions in the Thai agriculture sector. Therefore, we are working on enabling the connection between the Hungarian agro-innovative companies and Thai agricultural players. As for our future plans, as Hungary is being the president of the V4, the Visegrad 4 organization, therefore we are planning to organize an agro-innovation scientific event with our V4 colleagues in Bangkok. As for beauty and design, last December we had our first fashion show here in Bangkok. It was called the Unbelievable Fashion Night, where famous Hungarian designer Kati Zob has designed her own Bangkok and Thailand collection, which was displayed here. And also the jewelry from a Hungarian company called Zema is also here on Thai models. And in this regard, we are planning to have other fashion events, and we are also planning to exhibit at the Cosmoprof Beauty Expo here in Bangkok. As for water management, while Hungary has many prominent companies in the water management sector, and we also have a Hungarian-Thailand joint steering committee on water management, we are constantly working on promoting these companies in the Thai market, and we are searching for new partners for them. And last but not least, lately we are exploring a very new potential sector for cooperation, which is the space industry and cybersecurity. We are at the very beginning, but it seems very promising. So that was the end of our presentation. We would like to thank you for your attention, and please feel free to contact us anytime. Thank you.
Thank you very much for both Ms. Ildikó Major and Ms. Camilla Balla for your presentations. At the very beginning, I forgot to mention that in the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we are also organizing regularly business webinars and also online B2B meetings now with the pandemic situation. And this February, we had a very successful business webinar, just like today. Hereby, I would like again to take the chance to thank very much for both of you, Ms. Ildikó Major and Ms. Camilla Balla, for helping us with the organization process there. And as you mentioned, just this year, we managed to sign an agreement with the Board of Trade of Thailand, our Thai partner. Thank you very much again. And also thank you very much again for, thanks very much for the Embassy of Thailand for help, and also the BOI too, for your great support constantly. Now we would like to move on to our next presentation. It's Pursuing a Business Partnership in Thailand by the European Association for Business and Commerce, the EABC, Mr. Bob Fox. Mr. Bob Fox, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I think we're running quite tight on time, but Excellencies, colleagues, I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see this presentation. So we're talking about pursuing a business partnership in Thailand. The EABC is the European Chamber of Commerce Thailand, and our approach to investing in Thailand is that we work on policy and regulatory advocacy and business development. So we are very much a promoter of investment in Thailand, doing business with Thailand, but we also like to inform people about the challenges, and therefore we will give a balanced view on what it's like to doing business in Thailand. And we believe that if you join an organization such as ours, it gives you a leg up in terms of being able to improve the situation and do business better. So today I'm going to look briefly at the Thailand market environment, the foreign engagement, how to participate, which is the main subject, some laws and regulations and opportunities. So let's look at the big picture. Thailand is famous for coups, as everybody knows, and the most recent one was in May 2014. The cabinet of the current Prime Minister, that was made up in what we call Prior 1.0, had a number of technocrats. And these people were very well educated, very smart managers who knew how to manage in the public arena. there were some military-related career politicians as well. But this cabinet was very competent. Between that time and the middle of 2019, there was some very positive developments and reforms. Since mid-2019, there's been a bit more of a nationalistic and domestic push, and similarly into 2020 and 2021. One of the observations that we might make following the election of 2019 is to say that there is less coherence amongst ministries and there is more different opinion, because in the cabinet you have a number of different parties. It's a fractious coalition government, and it isn't as easy to get things changed as it might have been. We have a very positive regard for civil society in Thailand. It can be quite engaged and effective. And surprisingly, freedom of speech and the ability to publish things are more open, believe it or not, than in some other Southeast Asian economies. Some key metrics, I think everybody knows the population. Let's look at GDP changes. So the 2019, it was positive 2.4%. Last year, it took a big dive, 6.1%. Estimates for this year range from, and I've taken a basket of about 4 and taken the extremes of those, minus 0.5% through to about 2.2%. Wealth inequality is not in a good situation in Thailand. As the World Bank has known, the government has tried to address that during the pandemic. Internet penetration is pretty good, and mobile penetration is indicates that most people have more than one smartphone. This is a slide that I've used with permission of TDRI to indicate exports. Exports and tourism in 2019 made up 72% of the economy. Tourism almost 20% and exports the rest. Exports are a terribly important part of the Thai economy. And you can see here that in spite of everything, exports have done well so far this year. This is very positive. Let's look at some rankings. And we look at a few here which give a balanced view. So the World Bank ranking on doing business is paused at the moment, and it's not really a very good ranking in our opinion, because it only has 10 narrow criteria. It does not cover contracting with government or hiring foreigners, that is the work permit and visa issues. So some of the others, like the IMD World Competitiveness Ranking, put Thailand 28 out of 63 economies, or digital competitiveness, 39 out of 63 economies. The World Economic Forum GCI 4.0 about ICT adoption places Thailand quite well at 40 over 140, and network readiness about 50 over 130. Some of the negative aspects come when we look at corruption, and Transparency International Corruption Perception Index was, the last time we held a big event with the National Anti-Corruption Commission in 19, was at about, for the previous year, 99th. It's now slipped to 104th, which is worse than Indonesia and Vietnam. This is not good. The efforts by the NACC and others, and of course the Prime Minister and Cabinet, to move this in the right direction are well respected. Nikkei has a COVID-19 recovery index, which astonishingly places Thailand almost at the bottom. That needs to be reviewed, and I believe that with efforts to open up, that's going to improve drastically. Let us look at a 3-year picture, and this curve, some of the numbers are slightly out of date, but the point it illustrates is very important. It looks at ways of getting back to 2019 GDP levels and the assumptions that are needed. Probably we're not going to get back to 2019 levels of GDP until 2023. So even within that band on the right-hand side, there is a need to be a little bit patient, I would say. Thailand had a zero or elimination mindset strategy. That changed with the Prime Minister's statement in June, where he talked about 120 days for opening up, which comes up mid-October. Various comments from certain ministers have indicated that may slip till November. Currently, the borders are partially closed or partially open, if you like. There's a mandatory 14-day quarantine period under quite a nice arrangement where you can choose your own hotel, or you can use a sandbox model whereby it's not really quarantine, but you can use the whole island of Phuket, for example, as long as you are fully vaccinated. So this gives a recognition to status of vaccination. Fully vaccinated in terms of the total population at the moment, according to published statistics, and we mean fully vaccinated, meaning typically 2 shots plus 14 days, is about 19% of the population. If we look at some interesting aspects, and I think this is very telling, if we look at 3 major private operators, AIS, DTAC, and TrueMove, and they have 44%, 19%, 32% market share. Quite good competition on price, not so much on innovation and product, but nevertheless, this is a competitive market and it works. On the left-hand side, however, we see a state-owned enterprise, which is still 100% state-owned, and we always wonder, why is a state-owned enterprise participating in this with 3% market share in retail mobile, where it will never make money? Unfortunately, the mobile network operator area is a policy failure, and it shouldn't be. It works well in many European states, several other ASEAN member states, and this is an area where we need to get the policy right. Treaties. Thailand has many treaties. Most of them at the moment are focused around Asian areas, such as the Australia-New Zealand, ASEAN Australia-New Zealand Treaty, TAFTA, which is Thailand-Australia Free Trade Agreement, which was one of the early ones. The EU-Thailand FTA, which our organization is deeply involved with in assisting. There's a scoping document due by the end of this year, and hopefully it would be concluded within 2 years after that. There is the EFTA and the EAEU, or the Eurasian ones, in development. Thailand is party to RCEP, and discussions are still going on about CPTPP accession. ASEAN, as we know, it's not the EU. There are many ASEAN instruments. Some of them are very useful for integration. Some of them are really just in statements of intention. So how do we participate? If we're looking at commercial presence, which is mode 3, if you like, you can have a Thai partner with a 51% local shareholder in that company, or go to BOI and get promoted, and that allows 100% foreign equity. But that's only possible in certain areas, which is a long list under promotion. And it's not available in certain activities. Or number 3, you could do it under a treaty. If you want to do it in a different way rather than commercial presence, there could be supply by distributor or direct online supply. Regardless of the mode, local partners can make a difference in a variety of ways. Let's have a look quickly about the 4 modes of service supply. First of all, there's cross-border. I think everybody's seen these, so I don't need to go through the detail. What I'm really saying is, don't assume always that commercial presence, in other words, setting up an equity venture in Thailand, is the way to do it. There are other ways. And very often startups will not want to do that. They will want to have a partner where they appoint a representative, etc. So there are multiple ways that you can do this. I won't go into these details of what e-commerce is, but I'll leave it in the slide pack for circulation, because this assists in thinking about how you do services cross-border. There are various promotions. Please go to the BOI as the starting point. They're the ones in control of the Investment Promotion Act. As other speakers have mentioned, there is this S-curve idea, and there are 2 parts to that. There's the older S-curve and the new S-curve industries. Onto that, the EEC has added approximately 2 extra industries. In terms of smart visa, the categories that you can get a smart visa for under that are 13. So it's the 10 S-curve plus another 3. So this tends to be the basis for the industries that are useful to think about investing in. And here are these 5+5. Let's look at some laws and regulations. And I'm doing a bit of a digital focus here. The key basis is the Foreign Business Act. This goes back to 1972 with the current enactment of 1999. The FBA standard is peculiar. It is unusual. So be aware, it is about looking at the first layer of shareholding. It does not look at issues about control or management, etc. Now, other laws do that. Other laws do impact on that kind of thing. And in fact, there is a rather notorious one, which is still subject to a dispute in the Council for Trade and Services in Geneva. And it is the foreign dominance notification in the telecom sector. And this is because it moves away from the basic standard. But nevertheless, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of joint ventures in Thailand which use the FBA standard. So it is a very, very common practice. I won't go through all of these here, but I'm just indicating what some of them are in terms of the digital economy focus. Let's look at how regulation can be a bit complex. So in this analysis, at the top level, the Foreign Business Act covers restrictions on foreign equity in companies. The middle layer says that there are 39 professions which are not open to foreigners. That was partly relaxed by a notification or a announcement last year, which allowed for 4 categories so that in certain cases, there might be an MOU with another country, or there might be allowed for investments where somebody has got is an employee, for example. And then at the bottom layer in this is the professional level, where in any country in the world, you will find professionals get very territorial about who's allowed in. So there are different professions which guard this quite jealously. So that's how it works. There is a process, fast-track regulatory reform, which our organization has been deeply involved in since 2016. And this looks at changing many of the unwanted and unnecessary laws. So it tries to emulate the success stories of Korea, Vietnam, and Croatia. There was great success with Bank of Thailand and the Securities Exchange Commission, but much slower on license reform. The old style, vague and far-reaching law is still amongst us, but a newer style, which has better consultation, is working. The APEC good regulatory practices and consultation policies are actually varied. They're not always honored, and sometimes they're bypassed, unfortunately. Visa and work permit is the single most referred to administrative overhead of concern. The BOI will greatly help you sidestep a lot of this, but even with BOI help, there are almost in every case issues and challenges and frustrations in dealing with work permit and visa. The Smart Visa is a very good instrument. Somebody has mentioned it already. You don't need a separate work permit. Unfortunately, the terms of it are quite hard to get, and there's not that many issued so far. There is a new long-term plan for long-term residents in 4 categories. In terms of wealthy people, they sound nice. In our respectful opinion, having worked through this for about 2 or 3 years on digital nomad visas that the BOI were developing, we don't think that the long-term resident proposal is going to work. That's not to say that some of this might not be attractive to wealthy people in other respects. The digitalization status in Thailand, it's mixed. There is a very good plan from the Digital Government Development Agency about a long-term plan with digitalization, process re-engineering, interoperability, single sign-on, etc. Agencies such as DEPA, Digital Economy Promotion Agency, and the Electronic Transactions Development Agency are all supporting this. But this is something that you will find people want more of. I won't go into the RCEP arrangements. I only mention it because Thailand is a party to this, and this treaty will come into force very soon based on the number of people who've ratified it, number of economies who've ratified it, I should say. So it gives some good examples. It also relies on specific commitments, and therefore it's not really an open slather. One of the things that's very important is to allow business visitors without getting the necessity of a separate work permit. It's very important to allow business visitors in. There is no European equivalent of the APEC business travel card, but that's always something that we would like to see so that other people who are non-APEC citizens can come into Thailand. Let's look at opportunities. I'm going to talk about the digital area here. there's an awful lot of opportunities in various areas. You have to know how to navigate it. You have to know how to get in. You've got to know what to avoid and what to focus on. It is very encouraging to hear the Hungarian embassy being able to support this, and also the Thai embassy in Hungary able to support this kind of two-way trade and investment. For our organization, we have 12 working groups as follows. We also have an economy-wide approach. And so we look at the whole economic sector. We publish a position paper every couple of years, and we are deeply engaged in engagements with pretty well all ministries in Thailand. Thank you very much. Sorry to go over a little bit.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bufox, for your presentation. Also, as you can see, beside the traditional partners that you will think about, also there is the European Association for Business and Commerce too, for helping you in entering the Thai market. Or if you will require some information regarding the Thailand business opportunities. Then our next presenter is Mr. Peter Klemensic, who is the senior researcher of the Eurasia Center from the John von Neumann University, Hungary, about the business potentials for startups. Mr. Klemensic, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I try to share my PowerPoint. I think it's working. Okay. First of all, just a short glimpse to the economy of Thailand. Thailand is the largest economy of Asia and second economy of Southeast Asia, ranks fourth in Southeast Asian per capita GDP. Thailand is a newly industrialized country, the fastest growing economy in the region between 1985 and 1994. GDP per capita increased at an average rate of 8.2% a year. Thailand has developed infrastructure, and in 2020, internet user penetration in Thailand amounted to around 76%. The industrial and service sectors account for 90% of GDP. The agriculture produced only 10%. And I think Thailand is a favorable country for entrepreneurs, because based on a global entrepreneurship monitor survey for 2016 and 2017, Thailand's established business ownership rate of 27.5% is the second highest among the 65 countries polled. Many Thais are undeterred by fear of business failures. In that category, the country ranks third highest of the 65 countries. A large number of Thais have a positive attitude towards being entrepreneurs, which carries a high status in Thai society. Women in Thailand play a key role in Thai businesses, accounting for over 40% of small and medium-sized enterprises. Just a short definition about startup. Startup is a young company founded by one or more entrepreneurs to develop unique product or service and bring it to market. Or according to Steve Blank, startup is a temporary organization designed to search for a reputable and scalable business model. There are no fixed parameters on what type of company can be considered a startup, but the term most frequently applies to high-tech companies creating products that leverage technology to offer something new or to perform an existing task in a novel way. And what's the matter with the startups in Thailand? I can say that Thailand has a thriving startup ecosystem supported by key factors like its location, access to sea routes with modernized ports, low inflation rate, and availability of low-cost skilled labor. A majority of Thailand startups are located in two cities, its capital city Bangkok and Chiang Mai. The Thailand startup ecosystem has grown methodically into ASEAN's jewel, because as a country has around 540 startups. However, in Southeast Asia, Singapore, Indonesia, and Vietnam overshadows Thailand's ecosystem. Singapore is home to 80% of Southeast Asia's 10,000 startups. Indonesia has 4 unicorns, and Vietnam's startup community is 3,000 strong. Okay, just a figure about the startups in Thailand. I think there is a positive environment for startups in Thailand, because a significant part of startups in Thailand are foreign companies. The nation attracts prospective foreign startup founders from all the world. Foreign startups are leveraging their know-how in finding niches, product market fit, pain points, and symbiotically collaborating with Thai corporates and foreign subsidiaries in Thailand. And the most important foreign startups are Line, Grab, Gojek, Lazada, and Shopee. And this is a figure about the main result and the good environment of startups in Thailand. Okay, then let's see the Thai startups in this ecosystem. Through 2018, there have been 102 founded Thai startups. As of 2012, there were less than 5. Thailand remains an intriguing market due to its tech-savvy population and the recent growth in emerging industries such as fintech. In 2019, Thai startups raised $97.6 million according to Texos, while so far in 2020 they have raised over $130 million. To overcome the funding challenges and attract more foreign investors, Thailand needs to create a unicorn, a startup with at least $1 billion US dollar valuation. But I have to say that there are a lot of success stories among Thai startups. For example, Jubilee Enterprise, Vichava International Hospital Group, Lamoon, Pricesa, Vung Nai, Ato Coffee, Advantage. And there is a figure about our Thai startup funding. I think tendency is clear. Then let's see the government support. Under Thailand 4.0 program introduced in 2016, the country is moving away from heavy industries and towards a value-based economy. The ambitious 20-year plan aims to jolt Thailand out of the middle income trap. It offers a lot of ancillary opportunities for startups and the entire spectrum of tech applications. To encourage the development of the startup enterprises, the government is putting a considerable effort into establishing policies that favor tech companies. And they have identified 10 key industries to lead Thailand into the future of a sustainable technology-based economy. And these are the 10 key industries. Next generation automotives, intelligent electronics, advanced agriculture and biotechnology, food processing, tourism, digital technology, robotics and automation, aviation, logistics, biofuels, biochemicals, medical technology and global hub. I can say that the Thailand's government is offering investment opportunities that are piquing the interest of venture capitalists and private investors. These opportunities offer allowances and exemptions on visas, taxes, and import duties for businesses qualifying under the Board of Investments criteria as a Thailand 4.0 tech company. And just a few words about the ambitious effects of COVID-19. According to the Thai Tech Startup Association, up to 80% of local startups are struggling financially, with revenue drying up amid the pandemic. As a result, a significant part of them might disappear from the scene. That is a real danger. But the best funded startups in Thailand have made significant gains. For example, e-commerce solutions firm Alcommerce saw 130% year-on-year growth between the second quarter of 2019 and the second quarter of 2020. Sinequa, a payment processing and blockchain firm, has entered a period of hypergrowth, doubling revenue since last year. This is a general tendency that digitalization would accelerate in a post-COVID-19 world, and that local startups would provide solutions for that. And to see the prospects, the majority of startups in Thailand today are in fintech. Thanks to a growing middle class, burgeoning logistics sectors, and rise in mobile payments, growth in the sector has been excellent in recent years. The second most lucrative startup sector is food processing and technology. The demand for Thai cuisine and halal products is ever growing due to increased inflow of tourists from all over the world and rise in domestic wage levels. The third most important sector would be the travel and hospitality industry. Opportunities for travel firms are immense, considering the need for localized travel. And considering that Thailand is one of the cheapest destinations for medical tourism, the opportunities in the healthcare and pharmaceutical industry is huge. Of course, there are some minor challenges. The Thai regulatory regime is not conducive to the growth of Thai startups, because under the current listing framework, startups must have a strong financial performance to go public. But recently, the regulators made some change in this aspect. So I think in the future this problem will be solved. Thai entrepreneurs are limited by many of the same challenges as those in other Southeast Asian countries, lack of formalized investment channels and lack of experienced founders. Then we can conclude that limited English skills inhibit startups from hiring qualified human resources in the country, interacting with global audiences and expanding abroad. And the Thai education system produces a small number of STEM qualified human resources, which tends to reason why agriculture, manufacturing, and tourism remain Thailand's dominant industries, and its lack of fourth industrial revolution startups. But I think we have to see to the future. And my opinion is that in spite of the pandemic sectors, like fintech, e-commerce, food tech, agri-tech, seems to be promising. It is good to observe that the Thai government is focused on specific sectors that are of economic and strategic importance to it, and coming up with programs and incentives to promote those sectors. The future of technology lies in virtual reality, robotics, automation, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence. And Thai startup should focus on incorporating these technologies into the innovation, so that technology build which supports their business idea is futuristic. And of course, I think this is true for the foreign startups, and my conclusion is that Thailand has plenty of opportunities for the foreign startups as well. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Klemensic, for your presentation. And last but not least, today's last presenter will be somebody who is just playing another important role in finding your proper business partner in Thailand. It's very important to know the laws and regulations in the given country. So right now we will hear a presentation about this. Please welcome Mr. Till Morstedt from Lawrence and Partners Company Limited in Thailand. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good to be back from the first session. As Christoph said, I want to talk a little bit on the ease of doing business here, on the laws and regulations in Thailand. We have a little bit of an overlap, and we also ran into a bit of a delay. So I'm going to basically focus on my main points and try to not repeat things. Still, the first point has been mentioned a couple of times. I just find it very important that this can't be emphasized enough. The ASEAN part is already was a great success in Thailand. For Thailand and for the region, it opened up supply chains over the borders and integrated the economies. It still has a lot of potential to grow, and it took the next step with the RCEP agreement, which was concluded last year. It's still something in the making, but if this comes into force and if it really gets implemented as it is intended to, there is a great opportunity for especially Thailand being in the center of all these countries of benefiting strongly from it. So even though this is not really a legal issue, I wanted to emphasize that because I found it important that everybody is aware of that once he makes a decision to go into this region. Now, on Thailand's legal system, first of all, I think it's very important that Europeans understand that the Thai law is basically based on German law. It was a bit of a indirect influence because it came through the Japanese, but it is codified law. It makes it a lot easier for us to understand how things work here, and basically you can apply European principles also in Thailand. It's not 100% copy paste, but the legal logic is the same, and that really helps to understand things different to, for example, Singapore or Hong Kong, where you have a common law system which is based on UK law, which is for us simply sometimes strange and difficult to understand how things work and how legal language works and so on. The court system is actually, that's where you have kind of a hybrid, more based on the UK system. You have a two-tier system. Basically, you have the ordinary courts on the bottom, and then you have an appeal to the Supreme Court or a higher court. So you have appeal functions there, which make it possible to challenge decisions of a lower court. Honestly speaking, it is actually quite helpful because the local courts, if it comes to complex economical legal disputes, they are just sometimes overwhelmed. They just don't have the background on the economics. So it's the decisions which come out sometimes are not what you would expect to have. Not that that never happens in Europe, but you have this more here. Having said that, on B2B transactions, actually the court system is, at the end of the day, having this two-tier system in mind. It's actually quite reliable. It's relatively slow, but still it does work. And you get actually quite well-funded decisions from it. That gets even better if you get into international disputes where you have the so-called International Trade and Intellectual Property Court. That's a separate court for such disputes. Very well-trained judges, decisions very well reasoned normally. So actually that system is a lot better than its reputation. The problem is actually more the execution of judgments. So once you have a verdict or judgment from a Thai court, the actual execution and to get really paid, this is a big problem here. There are a lot of technicalities which can be brought up where you can actually delay the execution, and then at the end of the day, the company where you want to have to execute in simply goes into bankruptcy and you don't see anything. So my advice is there, think rather economical and not so much legal. Often a good contract does not help as much as a good cash flow control. See that you are always on top of the cash flow situation. That's the best protection you can have. Even an arbitration clause, for example, doesn't really help you because, again, you might win an arbitration. There is theoretically also the possibility to execute an arbitration award in Thailand, but it takes years. It takes forever to get your money back. So better sit in your money, keep it in your pocket. That makes it a lot better. I had a couple of cases just recently where people made big advance payments, never got the goods delivered. Very difficult to do anything about that. So if you go the next step and you decide to invest in Thailand, to basically build up a presence, you have three different options. The first one is a so-called representative office. It's basically a registration of your foreign company in Thailand. Problem is it's a very limited scope what you can provide with this representative office. You can employ 2 foreigners, but you can only do market research. You cannot do active sales. You cannot actually do even sales support. It's a very limited scope, but it's a good first step because it's easy to set up, easy to close again. So if it's just basically finding your way into the market, being present here, being able to establish your trademark and so on, then it's a good way to go. Maybe also to assist an existing agent and to tell them, look, we are here now, we can help you, we can give more technical support and so on. That's where it's actually for. The second option is to establish a so-called branch office, which is the also registration of the foreign entity in Thailand. However, it actually creates a lot of problems in terms of taxes and so on. I don't want to go too much into details, but it is not a very handy way of doing business here if it's long term. It is the organization of choice if you have only a single contract here. Even then, the administrative efforts are quite substantial. You have to estimate approximately 6 months to get it established. And then again, you have certain tax disadvantages and so on. So it's not ideal, but sometimes it's necessary to do it if you have contracts and which do not justify a full subsidiary here. The usual setup is a full subsidiary, which is basically then it's a legal entity you're setting up here. You can only do that as a foreigner if you follow the restrictions of the so-called Foreign Business Act. Bob Fox did touch this topic as well. This is a little bit of a headache sometimes if you set up here. In principle, foreigners are not allowed to do business here, except for certain exemptions. There are some which are exempted already under the Foreign Business Act, most importantly, production and export. So you can produce goods here and sell them in Thailand, and you can source goods here and sell them outside of Thailand. Anything else is mainly subject to restrictions where you have to apply for a so-called foreign business license. The easiest way to obtain it is actually through the Board of Investment. Any Board of Investment promotion comes with the right of or any is not 100% correct. Most of the BOI promotions come with the right of 100% foreign ownership. So it does make it a lot easier to obtain it. If this is not possible, if not all of your activities fall under the Board of Investment promotion, which is unfortunately often the case, then you have to go through a foreign business license application, which just again takes time, takes additional money, makes it a bit more complicated. Not impossible, but it is a bit of an uphill battle, more than with the BOI, where things are just simple and very easy to understand. The foreign business license application is sometimes quite cumbersome to obtain. American companies have it a bit easier. They have, under the US-American Treaty of Amity, the right to set up entities 100% foreign owned if they are ultimately owned by a US citizen. That is actually what normally rules it out for any European company. I put this actually on the list rather to explain to you that this is not a solution. You cannot simply use your US subsidiary to invest here and then make use of that. You have to be, the company investing here needs to be ultimately owned by a US citizen. The investment promotions to the BOI, just very briefly, I mean, we heard a lot about it. Again, very important for me is it's a great organization. You should always start here, always go first to the BOI, see if you can cover as much as possible by one or various BOI promotions. You get so many non-tax incentives. You have the foreign ownership covered. You have it easier with work permits. You can buy land, which I will touch later. There are a lot of non-tax incentives plus all the tax incentives, which are really making it interesting to invest here. We made a comparison maybe a year or two back to Singapore and Malaysia, and Thailand doesn't have to hide. It's really interesting what is offered if you are falling under those categories the BOI offers. It's a great scheme. A couple of points on land ownership. Land ownership is still very much restricted in Thailand. Privately, foreigners cannot own land. There are a few exceptions for companies. One is again the BOI promotion. Another one is if the land is located in an IEAT approved industrial estate. There are, I don't know, I think around 100 industrial estates which fall under this category. So if you are locating in them, it is possible that you buy the land you are establishing your business on. And then you have special permissions for investors. Honestly speaking, I just have it on this list for completeness. I say here rarely granted. I've never seen in 20 years that it was granted. So it's basically those two exceptions. Currently, there is something in the making which is supposed to make it easier to own land for foreigners. I'm not so sure that it really would be nice if it was possible, because sometimes for some companies it simply doesn't make sense to buy land in an industrial estate. They want to be greenfield, they want to be outside. And then at the moment, it's very difficult. You have to basically work through long-term lease agreements, which are not really solving the problem. A couple of words on labor law, because this is also something which is affecting the businesses here. Often, in my experience, the labor law is first of all very employee friendly. It's very similar to European standards. You have an 8-hour day, 48 hours a week. Overtime is only permissible against overtime pay. It's very difficult to have positions which are not being paid overtime. So that's something where you have to look into. If you have a white collar business, you have to see how you deal with that. There are ways around. You can make some contractual arrangements to make this at least reduce your risk on it. But it is sometimes a problem because the labor law is quite old-fashioned in terms of working hours and so on, and you don't have flexible working times and so on. This is very difficult to reflect it in employment agreements. You have 6 days vacation minimum under the Labor Protection Act and 13 public holidays. Important to know there is that those 13 public holidays always are work days. If they fall on a Saturday or Sunday, they are shifted to the next day. So then the Monday is free. So it's 13 days guaranteed plus 6 days of vacation where people can basically then on an individual level choose. Having said that, the 6 days are not common standard anymore. Usually 10 days is the minimum what most companies I am dealing with are giving. So it's at the end of the day, it's got 20, 25 to 30 days, which you have people out of the office in most companies. This is also, I mean, there was a little bit easier before where you had an excess of workforce. Qualified labor at the moment is difficult to find, and so you are competing against other competitors. So if you come with a package which is not interesting to the employees, they simply don't start with you or leave you as soon as they get a better offer. So this is something which the legal side is actually not as important as the commercial one or the HR side of it. Last point on labor law is statutory severance payment, which is very important if you want to make people redundant. It was a big problem during COVID now. You have to pay if you terminate an employment without proper reason, and those reasons are very restricted. You pay after 1 year of employment 3 months salary of severance. After 3 months, it goes up to 6 months, and then it goes gradually up to 10 months. It makes it very expensive if you want to reduce your workforce. If it's only blue collar, it's normally doable. If it goes white collar, then it's getting more problematic. And there also you need to know that the severance payment also applies to management level. So there is nothing, I'm not sure how this works in Hungary, but in Germany, we have from a certain management level on, those regulations don't apply anymore. That's basically, you can do a lot more individually. Here, it's up to the managing director who is employed, who you, for example, an expat which you send to Thailand, he still is entitled to his severance payment. So that makes it, you have to be aware of that, and you have to take precautions in the contract to avoid then risks once you, for example, want to exchange somebody of the management or reduce workforce. last point on the legal side is the foreign employment. Bob Fox, again, he mentioned this topic as well. It's probably the most cumbersome part of our work at the moment. COVID didn't make it easier because people then overstayed, and you had the processes were not properly aligned at the beginning. Now this is better, but still there are a lot of complaints about it. We have lots of problems because the regulations constantly change. It's something where you need somebody to support you at the beginning, at least until you are big enough to employ somebody who can do this full time and take care of it. Visa and work permit regulations are super complex at the moment. Unless you are under BOI, that helps, that makes it easier. The smart visa is really a good invention, but also, as Bob mentioned, it's something which has to be seen how much it is really getting something which is like a widely used tool. If it works, it's going to be great. But I agree with him as well that for the digital nomads, it's still a problem because actually they don't fall under those categories. So there is still work to do. I hope that it's going to be addressed soon, but it's at the moment it is a challenging factor. Briefly, because we are really running late now on the tax side, corporate income tax is at 20%. Unless you get tax incentives from the BOI, you have a profit distribution tax of 10% then. So eventually you end up at a final tax rate of 28%, 20%. So you are going down from 100 to 80. Thereof 10% is dividend distribution tax, so it's 28%. Which you pay as a final tax if you repatriate profits to Hungary. I think it's quite competitive. It's not great, but it's also not the end of the world. Plus, you have various opportunities to get tax incentives through the BOI. So it's actually really quite a comfortable tax burden here. Same for the personal income tax side. Personal income tax ranges from 0 to 35%. And the 35 only apply from 5 million baht onwards. That's about 125,000 euro per year. So it's the average tax rate for an expat normally ranges between 25 and 30%. So it's about European level. I know this was a very quick and short wrap up now. Unfortunately, I don't have more time, but feel free to contact me or the BOI if you have additional questions. I'm happy to answer them. And also, if you need a first discussion on topics, you can always contact me directly. I'm happy to do this and just give you a first overview on how things work so that you understand what you're getting into if you invest in Thailand. I still think despite these problems you do have on the legal side, that Thailand is quite a good country to invest and really an interesting country to go to, especially if you want to have a base for ASEAN and RCEP. So have a look at it in more depth. If you're interested in it, let me know. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation regarding the legal environment of Thailand. And so since we are running out of time, I think we could skip the Q&A part for the second half of the webinar too. And I think we could jump to the conclusion and the closing by the time moderators. So I will give back the floor to you. And thank you very much.
Sorry, no, I had a technical problem. Thanks, Christoph. This concludes our program for today. I would like to thank the organizers of the event again, all the speakers, of course, as well, and all the attendants which stayed with us for now more than nearly 3 hours. This shows that the interest in Thailand is, despite the pandemic, still strong, and that there is a growing demand for information also in Hungary and neighboring countries. As I said at the beginning, I'm still a big fan of Thailand as an investment location, and I hope this seminar could show you some of the potential the country has. We're looking forward to hearing from you with additional questions. Again, to BOI, to me, to any of the speakers, and I hope to meet some of you in the near future in person in Thailand when traveling is getting a little bit easier. This was it for today. I thank you very much. All of you have a great day. Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.